Hello, this is Rosetta Nesbitt coming to you again, and I'm coming to you from the series How I Met God, and this is part 5. We last left off and we were talking about making salvation personal, but we were talking about it in the sense that, just to give you a brief background, there's a part 1, 2, and 3, 4, and this will be series part 5. It's a series of my testimony on how I met God, and I was telling, as it relates to my testimony, how T.D. Jakes preached a sermon about letting Hagar go, and I had several other things in place of my God as a Hagar to me that God asked me to let go as well. And this is all metaphorically, to which I was seeking a relationship personally with God. I want to say that when me and God were together, and last time I talked about how he did the operation and cut my torso from the top of my neck to the end of my torso, my whole torso, and did an operation and removed a whole lot of filthy things to help me get closer to him and to find him and to know him and free me of a lot of the things that I carried as baggage and could not bring God into my world. And so now I've removed myself from the world, per se, and allowed myself to bring God into my world. And now we are in a world, I am in a world with God. So I'm no longer addicted. I'm not any longer subject to things that I have no power over, in that I use anything or need to desperately commit any crimes or any perversions to get something. I am not bound by those types of gods in my life any longer. I have salvation now, and it took me a while, and the last comment was that my sister-in-law visited me, and I was seeking God, but I was still stuck on smoking, and she hugged me, and she said to me, don't be condemned. And that freed me. It freed me from 27 years of smoking. And sometimes, I'm not here to bash any Christians or anything, but I just want to tell you that in my seeking God for years and years and years, that's been holding me back because, quote, you had to be clean in order to participate in the services of God, in the house of God, with the people of God. And when I learned that I had a personal relationship with God now that superseded what man could say or think or direct or demand to see as God, from an appearance of me, an expectation of me to present God in a save kind of way, well, all those things were camouflaged. They were camouflaged from the reality, which held people back for years, and it held me back. And so while I was talking to God, I asked God to help me not to get caught up into those things. And I also brought up the fact that a witness, someone who comes, a messenger rather, someone who comes and tells you bad things, bad things are going to happen to you because you are new. Now, warnings like that, I had a person come to me and say that the saints would be jealous of me because of my zeal, being that they've been in the church for 30 years, 20 and 30 years, and I just got here and had such a high zeal, that there would be jealousy and that there would be people trying to pull me down and destroy me and break my confidence in God. And that person warned me not to allow it to happen. Well, I never knew that person would be the person that would honestly attack me and cause the very things that they warned me about. Well, I asked God, because of so much hurt going on. I asked him, please, God, mentally that it is hard for me to manage what I need to manage as a stable mental person. Because things hurt me easily. It's not that I was psychologically deranged or had any psychosis and stuff. I did have a couple episodes, but that's because the medicines that I was on were causing them. They didn't know back then that those medicines provoked the very illness that they were trying to cure you with. And I asked them, I said, God, I'm very sensitive, and I love so easily, and I care so much about people, and I don't want to be caught up in the rat race of camouflaging sanctified people or sanctified way of life, where you wear the long dresses and the purity and separation. I do want sanctification, okay? Don't get me wrong, but not from the eyes of man. I think that God was really teaching me how to be my own person with him and not so much depend on other people. See, the thing is what God taught me was that he needed a harvest. He needed some people to harvest. That's what his whole purpose was for bringing us here, is to harvest. He needs harvesters, people who will go out and love others. It's not even about picking something up and bringing it home, filling up a basket and putting it in a truck. It's not about pulling things off of a tree and packing it in a bag and selling it to someone. That's not what he's talking about in the harvest. The harvest is man. And I learned through the process of him talking to me that the enemy has moved in to man. It's not that, in the beginning where Adam and Eve was at the tree and the snake tempted Eve to eat of the apple, and she gave it to Adam, and Adam put the blame on Eve because God asked him why was they disobedient to his instructions to not eat of that apple, of that tree. Well, once she committed that sin, she ate the apple. They both shared a bite and they swallowed it. And this no longer gave them the right to purity and innocence and order and obedience and submission and love. It's now eyes open and truth is out. You got a viewing of lust. You got a viewing of right. You got a viewing of evil. You got a viewing of filth. You got a viewing of love. You got a viewing of hate. I mean, we got both sides now because they ate. So to me, that means that the devil now has a body. He is consuming man, and we think that the enemy is outside of us, and the enemy is inside of man. Man is his own enemy. We are the ones fighting against God, not some devil with a red horn and a long tail and a fork. And God wants us to get back to the place where we love one another, truly, truly, truly love one another, really love one another. And in these last days that so much hatred is happening. Kids are being kidnapped and raped and killed. Women are being kidnapped and raped and killed. Men are being killed right in public, right in the daylight. These things are happening. And so as a Christian, we have the challenge of trying to survive this. Well, I had a hard time surviving this kind of stuff. Even if I wasn't personally affected, it affected me as if I was, because I'm post-traumatic and I cared. What happened? The trauma of someone else's became my trauma because I know trauma. And so if you have been traumatized and then you looking at trauma, it's doing nothing but becoming family to your already set trauma. It's all one thing. It's one package. And I hurt bad, and I wanted God to shield me from my own hurt. So I asked God, I said, Lord, if I lose control and cannot keep my mind straight And me and God are sitting right here like we are, camera to me, sitting here talking to you. We were just like that with each other. And I asked him, I said, you know how my mind is. I can't handle pain. I just can't handle all this trauma and all this hurt. And as a Christian, I don't know if I'll last, because just being saved, I got beat up worse than I did when I was just doing my thing in the world. It's like the saints were killing me. And I asked him, I said, Lord, through my submission to you, as I read your word and I pray to you and my relationship builds more with you, can you please shield me from my own mind? Protect me from the thoughts of negativity that comes up, and don't allow me to react like I did in the past the way I would have. Even if I feel it, don't allow me to react. When God told me, he said, it is done. And I'm going to tell you, over the years of me getting closer and closer to God, because he did gain my trust in the end. I wanted you to know he gained my trust. And he won me over, and I no longer wanted to take my life, because there was something pure and clean and new, and there was a rebirth about him and I coming together, joined as one in relationship in a way that we never did before. And I fell in love with him. And when I fell in love with God, it's unexplainable how sweet. He is so sweet. It is very hard to know how sweet God is unless you have been broken in your heart and your mind and connected in a way where you really, really needed him. Because God, in my opinion, only comes to people who really need him, who really are desperate for him, who are seeking him beside the things that they have already been beat up and bruised with. They can't take anymore. You know how they say God will put more on you than you can bear? Yes, he will. I think he will put more on you than you can bear, because when you reach a limit to what you can't take anymore, you will run to him. You will run to him. That's what I did. And God, I just want you to know God is real. Having a conversation with him, just like I'm talking to you, we had a conversation. And he answered every prayer. I mean, let me tell you, this is the honest to God truth. And everything I told you was the truth. But one day I literally had really bad breath. I mean, I had such bad breath. I prayed, literally I prayed and asked God, please, Lord, I don't know what's causing this, but please help me to fix this. And one day I was in the bathroom and I was brushing my teeth, and the Lord said, brush the roof of your gums and the tongue, around the tongue. At that time I didn't have any knowledge about your tongue and your gums and all that stuff. I just knew you're supposed to brush your teeth. And God said to me, just brush the top of your gums and around your tongue and brush those areas. I never brush my flesh. I brush my teeth. I never brush my flesh. And sure enough, it worked. He also turned me on to using peroxide and baking soda and vinegar as a means of cleaning my mouth out, and I never had another complaint. And that may seem kind of stupid and minor and silly, but he became so close to me that even the minor things that I asked him for mattered. They mattered. They were important. And God told me, he said, the smallest cut that bothers you bother me. I am not comfortable if you're not comfortable. I want you to be comfortable. I am here. I gave my life. I died for you. And therefore, anything that concerns you will concern me. And I'm like, yeah, okay, God, well, why did you let me suffer so long? Why did you allow me to go through what I went through as a child? It was pretty bad. And I wanted safety. I wanted to find him. and he wasn't there. And I wondered, I was a kid. Why didn't he care then? Why? Why did he allow the secrecy of beatings and abuse to happen to kids? Why didn't he save us? And God told me that some things there's no answers for. Life is sort of mysterious. But he said he does reign on the just as well as the unjust. Even to the innocence of children. They are not immune to the things of nature and the things of this world. And he said to me that there has to be an invitation, a coherent, like, you go to court and they judge you and they judge whether or not you can stand trial by your sanity. Well, God was trying to tell me that through your sanity had to be intact. You had to have an awareness of him. You had to have a full conscious awareness and invite him in. Like my grandmother used to say, God don't have no grandchildren. And so if my mom and dad is saved, they may be saved, but that does not save me. What saves me is me. It's my allowing God in. He does not hold you accountable when you are young, younger than, I'd say, understanding. Most people give it an age and they say 12, but I say understanding. If you are old enough to understand and comprehend invitations and comprehend relationship and comprehend closeness and touch and feel and desire and what you want. When you have that knowledge, you can invite him in. And so many times we invite evil in as a retaliation for the wrong that happened to us. And even though God had plans to take us in when we were younger, we went another way because we were wounded, we were hurt. And I looked at God, I looked up at him, and I was like, wow, wow. He said, Rose, one day you're going to die. Everybody's going to die. You can't see me unless you die. Whether you die as a child or whether you die as an adult, you got to die because that's the way life is. It has a life and death attached to it. You live while you can live. And when it's over, it's about us. It's about you and I and judgment and eternal life and the sacrifices and the endurance. And that's why in the Word, the Bible said, press towards the mark of the high calling of Jesus Christ. Don't give up when you are doing well. When well-doing, do not stop and give up for doing well. Because it may seem futile now, but it does mean something in the end. And as the Word said, Paul said in Corinthians, that the Word is that God, the whole mystery of God is still a mystery. There's still some mystery about it that we don't even know. And so I'm going to end this by telling you that this one last comment, that I ran into some very horrible, painful situations as I began to get closer to God, to the point that it almost took my life. Pain, fighting, arguing, accusations, gossip. I mean, so much. Family even went up against me in areas that were so uncalled for and unexplainable. Just things like, for an example, I was at my brother's and I got up and cooked breakfast and I offered them breakfast. I said, look, I cooked breakfast so y'all can eat before you go to work, and I'm just a visitor. and he's a cook. So he asked me, he said, you don't need to offer me my food. I paid for that food. I'm a cook. If I want to go in the kitchen and cook me something to eat, I can cook. I don't need you to offer me my food. I was like so attacked by things like that. We were sitting in the car just riding, and him and his wife, and I brought up something about some real estate, and we were just talking, and he dropped his wife off to work. We get back home, and he gets in a big argument with me about don't ever talk to me while I'm talking to my wife. You don't have a right to be in my conversation with my wife. And it's like, I'm like, what in the world's going on? Where's all this coming from? It was like I was just being attacked for stupid reasons that had nothing to do with nothing. You know, the things were said that I said this and I said that. They weren't relevant to anything. They weren't relevant to nothing, but they became big. And I asked God, I was like, God, why are all these things happening? I'm trying to do the right. I came out of drugs. I came out of alcohol. I came out of hurt. I came out of mental psych wards and all these other things. And now you got me to the place where I'm in you and I'm suffering more by the people that say that they're you. This is what I was talking about to you, that the people that say they got you are evil. They are evil. And this is why I didn't want to have anything to do with you. And I told him this. He said, keep your eyes focused. Block them out. It's not every Christian is not, every one of my children are not bad. But you live in an environment where you're dealing with people who have trauma. And those people are striving, and they say they're saved, but they're making mistakes because they're in a delusion. They have been, they're not willing to face reality in their life. And they're not willing to face the truth to change anything about them. It's just why people attack you or anyone is because they're not ready to change a lot about themselves. And I was like, wow, well, it hurts. It really hurts, God. And God said, that's okay. And so what I found myself being able to smile when pain was right there. And pain was hurting me so bad, and I wasn't reacting to the pain. I was just going on with my life and smiling, and I couldn't understand why I was able to do that. I never was able to do that before. So I asked God about it, and he said, well, you did ask me not to allow you to react to what you feel. I didn't say that I was going to take away what you felt. I was just keeping you from reacting to it. And that blew me away. That was like, wow, you really are real. I mean, I had a conversation with him, and I said, wow, you really are real. You were telling me so much about myself and how to keep myself that it's really blowing my mind. And so now there's not a doubt in my mind that you are real. And so God said, of course I'm real. He said, the road is narrow, and there will be few who will find it. So the struggles that you go through are within that narrow road. Now you can choose to get off that road and be free and be comfortable and not have to worry about trying to do nothing right. Or you can stay on it and struggle to do the right things, because it will cost you something that is very uncomfortable, and that will be very unlawful to be on that road. Keep your eyes on the prize. And I said, wow, okay. And this is when gratitude started stepping in. When I told you in the first video, or the second video, about gratitude being one of the key things to healing anything in you, anything. Gratitude, become grateful for what you already have, where you already are, and where you're going. Because gratitude is what's going to free you. And I will end with that. God bless you. Have a good afternoon. Amen.